If you think survival food is a modern hobby, you're missing the real story. During World War II, millions of ordinary families weren't prepping for fun. They were managing daily life in a world where supply chains snapped, ration books ruled, and the next delivery was never guaranteed. What kept people going wasn't a huge pantry. It was a simple system. They learned which foods could sit quietly for months, which ones could be turned into real meals, and which ingredients could rescue a bad week. So this isn't a list. It's the wartime logic. 7 rules that still make sense today. Rule 1. Store a protein that can wait. Dried beans were a quiet backbone of wartime kitchens. They didn't need refrigeration, they didn't spoil quickly, and they turned into filling meals with almost nothing. When meat was scarce, beans weren't a substitute. They were a dependable plan. The lesson is bigger than beans. Always have one reliable protein that doesn't depend on the outside world. Rule 2. Keep a base ingredient that creates meals. Flour was freedom. If you have flour, you can make bread, thicken soups, stretch leftovers, and turn small ingredients into something that feels complete. Families stocked it because it meant control. You weren't just waiting for stores to restock. The principle is simple. One foundation food can multiply everything else you have. Rule 3. Trust what's sealed. Canned meat mattered because it solved a hard problem. Dense calories and fat that didn't require fresh supply. Wartime households leaned on tins not because they loved them, but because tins are honest. They sit there until you need them. The modern takeaway is the same. A few shelf-stable proteins can cover gaps when fresh food gets unpredictable. Rule 4. Don't underestimate morale. Sugar wasn't just sweetness, it was preservation, energy, and psychology. It helped turn fruit into jam, made basic baking possible, and gave people small moments that felt normal. In hard times, normal is fuel. The principle here: keep at least one ingredient that improves food and improves mood, because morale is part of endurance. Rule 5. Have nutrition that doesn't need a fridge. Powdered milk looks boring until you need it. It made cooking and baking possible when fresh milk was inconsistent, and it helped households keep routines for kids. This rule is about redundancy. Have at least one version of a key food group that works when refrigeration doesn't. Rule 6. Use foods that store themselves. Root vegetables like potatoes, onions, and carrots were staples not because they were fancy, but because they lasted. People used cool, dark spaces, cellars, basements, insulated corners, to stretch fresh food through winter. This rule is about environment, not technology. Stable temperature and low light can buy you months. Rule 7. Own the oldest preservation tool on Earth. Salt doesn't spoil. It's not exciting, but it's power. It cures, ferments, and preserves. And it turns we have extra food into we have food later. Wartime families treated salt as strategic because it made other foods last longer and stretch further. And there's a final bonus that feels like a time capsule. Hard biscuits like hardtack. Not glamorous, pure function. Calories that could sit quietly until the moment you needed them. When you step back, you can see the real pattern. A wartime pantry wasn't random. It was a system, a foundation ingredient, at least one dependable protein, sealed calories, preservation tools, and storage methods that didn't rely on electricity. That's not just history. It's practical design. And it's why those families managed to get through the hardest years with something most people underestimate: consistency. Subscribe to our channel. Many more fascinating stories are coming.